me after the loss has been borne by my other partner.
Right.
This is considered as unfair in Islamic partnership.
Right.
Hence, if you ask Sharia scholars involved in Islamic banking and finance,
Yeah.
they would say preference shares are not Islamic. Right.
Okay.
So mudaraba is a kind of partnership, right, which gives less rights to the capital provider, investors, right, as compared to a conventional such arrangement.
But they have an equal risk of loss in investment if the business doesn't perform so well.
Now, in case of mudaraba, the loss is borne by the party providing capital.
Right.
Only.
So they are taking a risk.
That's right.
And the working partner, does he take any risk, or he has to obviously, he's taking risk of his time?
Yeah. His risk is limited to the time and effort that he puts into the business.
And
so can I just, on that, this is fascinating, really good, and I've got a question as well. But let me just remind the viewers, if you'd like to call in with any questions on anything to do with business, but today we are discussing Islamic finance, and I've got a couple of questions that I'd like to ask. The number is appearing on the screen, so do call in with any questions. And you know, Dr. Humayun Dar is very knowledgeable, he's very busy, he charges a lot of money to clients, so you can have him for free on IQRA and ask your questions, and if they're the more complicated, the more he loves them. So even if they're complicated questions. Now, last time you were here a couple of months ago, we had a question and we didn't fully answer it. And this sister was asking about mortgages, and what she was asking was, that when she went to an Islamic bank, and the terms and conditions that they were offering were much, much worse, if that's the correct word to use, not as preferential as non-Islamic mortgages. And what she was saying is that they were asking for very large deposits, 35, 40%, whereby the high street are much, much more preferential with deposits. You know, anything 20, 25, 15. So, anything on that to do with you know, deposits? Why are they asking, Islamic banks asking for bigger deposits than the conventional UK deposits?
This is a correct observation. Islamic banks tend to be more conservative as compared to conventional banks for a number of reasons. Number one, Islamic banks are smaller in size. Hence, their risk appetite is less as compared to conventional banks. And given that Islamic banks' size is small, they tend to be more responsible towards their depositors and their investors. If they take more risk, it is very likely, given the market conditions, that they would lose part of the money. And at this initial stage of development in Islamic banking and finance, it is very important for the managers of Islamic banks to protect the money of their investors and depositors. If something goes wrong with an Islamic bank, it will have a huge impact on the Islamic financial services industry. Hence, this is a greater sense of responsibility which results into some kind of stringent conditions for the clients of Islamic banks and financial institutions. As an expert in Islamic banking and finance and someone who is involved in advising Islamic banks, I sympathize with Islamic banks. At this early stage of development in Islamic banking and finance, we have to be patient with Islamic banks. The competitiveness of Islamic banking and finance has improved in the last 20 years, and I believe that in the years to come, the increase in competitiveness of Islamic banking and finance is going to be significant. We have actually found that some Islamic banks are now less stringent than conventional banks in the financial crisis. Without referring to any Islamic bank, but there is one Islamic bank here in UK which is offering financial products which are more competitive as compared to many conventional banks offering such products. So I hope that with the passage of time, competitiveness of Islamic banking and finance will improve.
Excellent. Sammy, have you had a question?
Yeah, no, basically the financing for mortgages is musharaka, isn't it? It's partnership, because basically they are a co-owner of the property with you, like you explained. You put like an investment of 20%, so you own 20% of the property, the bank will own 80%, and over time, over the 25 years, you keep buying a stake back into the property. And I think that's the main difference between the conventional mortgage and the Islamic mortgage. Is in a conventional mortgage, they're a loan finance. Yes. Basically, they loan you money. You buy whatever you want. You can buy a car if you want with that kind of loan. But in Islamic finance, basically, they are an investor. They're an owner. So if they give you money or they buy the car for you, they own the car and then they lease it back to you in some sort of a mechanism until you fully own the car back. And they just add their margin of 5–10% on top to make their profit. Is that correct? Do I understand it correctly?
This is true, but this is only part of the story. Islamic banking and finance is very rich. It has a number of solutions. One solution, as you rightly mentioned, is partnership based. But in the Middle East, for example, Islamic mortgages are based on the concept of murabaha, whereby the bank buys the property for a price and then sells it on to the customer for a profit. And the price which the customer pays to the bank is paid over a certain time period. So this is another model.
Let's just take this caller, if you don't mind. Assalamu alaikum, caller. How are you? Assalamu alaikum, caller. We have a caller from Cardiff. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, assalamu alaikum, next caller. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me in your phone? Assalamu alaikum. Okay, I'm sorry to say we're having some technical difficulties. There's some callers waiting. So sorry to cut you short. Now we keep talking about mortgages. Let's talk about business finance.
Right.
So how is Unicom doing, and what are you going to do? Are you going to float it on the AIMS market, tell me about.
Well, I am intending to float the company. I've got a company called Umi Plc, which is the parent company to a lot of projects. One of the projects I'm focusing on right now is the revenue sharing social business community. It's a platform similar to any social network, but I'm more focusing it towards business, people to come together and joint venture together, start projects, brainstorm, and also the revenue that comes in from advertising and membership fees, 50% of it goes back to the members.
And they didn't have to pay for their membership? And
there is a paid membership, and there's a free membership. Free membership, you can just come in, you can do whatever you want. But the paid membership basically allows you to attend events, networking events every month. So you can go to prestigious locations like Landmark, Hilton, and network with other entrepreneurs, listen to like a self-made millionaire or something like that. So we'll have special guests, similar to what you have in like business clubs, similar to that.
Okay, good. Right, I've just been told the system is okay. We can now take calls. Sorry about that. We had some callers waiting and we lost them, but the system is back. Now, this program is about business, and people always want to get finance for their businesses. So if they've got something that is viable and the banks think it's viable, how does it work? You know, you say you need £100,000 for your business, and you've been running it, let's say, for a couple of years, and you need some machinery, plant, equipment. Who owns that plant? Who owns that equipment? Because they're not paying riba, they're not paying mortgages, sorry, they're not paying interest on it. So how does that work? What are they paying for? Does the bank buy it on their behalf? Does the bank buy it? Does the bank give them money to buy it? Because in a conventional way, I go to the bank, and if they agree with what I say, they give me the money, and I do what I like with it, and I pay them back monthly. But how does that differ from an Islamic bank?
First and very important thing in Islamic banking and finance is that there is no concept of lending money.
That's right.
If an Islamic bank lends